Non-dual jazz notes down the rabbit hole of non-duality. In the smoky haze of jazz joints and the dimly lit back alleys of the city, I found myself tumbling down the rabbit hole of non-duality. It was like the beat of the drums syncopating with the rhythm of the universe, a dance that spun me into a realm where the lines between self and other blurred like the ink on a jazzman's notepad. You see, I had been on this journey. I was a seeker, and proud of the term. I'd come to realize the world was this pulsating, undulating tapestry of interwoven threads, each note of the saxophone a stitch in the grand quilt of existence. On the road of life, I hitchhiked through the highways of the mind, traveling every spiritual path until, seemingly by accident, I thumbed my way into the expanses of non-duality. And that's when it all fell apart. Or maybe it all came together. I'll never be able to say. See, non-duality wasn't one more path. It wasn't a place on the map, but every place and no place, where the dichotomies of right and wrong, here and there, melted like butter on a hot griddle. I remember sitting in a café, sipping coffee and watching the jazz band improvise their way through the night. The saxophonist wailed, the bass throbbed, and I could feel the vibrations resonating not just in the air, but in the very fabric of my being. It was like we were plugged into the same amp, and the music played itself. It was all music, and there was no one there to hear it. No separate listener, but no one was absent. No one had ever been here at all, and yet it was a fullness beyond anything imaginable. Unlike every spiritual path I had walked, non-duality wasn't about escape. It was about immersion. It was about being thrown headfirst into the river of existence, feeling the current carry you beyond the shores of duality. The seekers and speakers spoke of it in hushed tones, passing around ideas like joints in a smoke-filled room. But this wasn't about ideas. Before the obviousness of this, we were all seekers, chasing an elusive truth that danced just beyond the edge of language and reason, and was no truth at all, and nothing that could ever be caught. Because it was nothing that was ever hiding. Just this, blowing like an alto sax, wailing in the night, undeniable, and each note appearing and disappearing till it's so damn clear there are no separate notes at all. The city lights reflected off wet pavement like stars scattered across the heavens. I walked the streets not just knowing but feeling that the very ground beneath my feet was an illusion, a dance of atoms and energy. The duality of self and other had dissolved. It had never been there at all. I found myself in a momentless moment that stretched infinitely in all directions and no directions at all. In the neon glow of the city, I scribbled my thoughts on my laptop, words tumbling out like a stream of consciousness. The keyboard moved, and all I was were these words, the only me there had ever been. There was no separation, just the flow of expression, an endless jazz riff echoing through the corridors of a mind that wasn't ever mine. Non-duality wasn't some destination. It wasn't a journey to arrive where we already always are. It is the pulse of a life, unknowable and electric, alive and empty, and none of that at all. As I wandered the city streets, I had to laugh. It was so clear that the road and the seeker were one, and yet the road and the seeker were none at all. Just this intimate, unknowable aliveness, dancing inseparably in the grand improvisation of life, and no thing at all.